Do you know why chasing never works, even when you do everything right? There's a strange kind of heartbreak that many men don't talk about. You do everything right. You text politely. You wait the right amount of time. You avoid looking needy. You choose your words carefully. And still, somehow, it slips away. Not loudly, not dramatically. It just fades. You sit there staring at your phone. Not constantly, just enough to betray your stillness. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, that you're fine either way, but your body tells the truth. The breath is shallow. The tension is real. You check your phone again. Once, twice, again. You're not chasing, at least not on the surface, but inside, your energy is already reaching. And this is where most men misunderstand what's really happening. They think the problem is timing, or the wrong emoji, or saying too much, or not saying enough. They tweak the behavior, hoping for a different outcome. But the outcome isn't based on behavior. The outcome is based on the signal. And the signal was already sent long before the message was read. Because chasing doesn't begin when you act. It begins when your center leaves your body. It begins the moment you shift from grounded to leaning, from still to seeking, from presence to pressure. And that shift, even if invisible to the eye, is always felt. Not because people are cruel, not because you aren't valuable, but because the energy of chasing carries a frequency of lack, a subtle message that says, I need something from you to feel whole again. Most men try to fix this by controlling behavior. They text less, they act distant, they pretend to care less than they do. But that changes nothing, because energy does not respond to rules, it responds to your state. As long as your nervous system is unsettled, as long as your sense of peace is waiting for a reply, as long as you need to be chosen in order to feel enough, the signal remains the same, and life, including people, responds not to what you say, but to what you are. Chasing never fails because you aren't trying hard enough. Chasing fails because it tells the world, my calm depends on you, and people don't want to carry that. They don't want to be responsible for your center. This chapter isn't here to shame that pattern. It's here to expose it, softly, so you can stop blaming yourself and start asking the deeper question. What would change if my center stayed with me, even in silence? That is the moment attraction begins, not because you're performing stillness, but because you are living from it. Let's talk about the law of gravity, not attraction. You've been told that attraction is something you create, that it's something you earn through effort, performance, timing, or charm. That if you say the right things, act confident, or play it cool, you will be noticed, you will be wanted, you will be chosen. But nature doesn't work that way. In nature, things are not pulled by effort, they are pulled by mass. The earth does not chase the moon, the mountain does not reach out for birds, the tree does not wave to be seen. It simply exists in its fullness, and everything else adjusts around it. This is gravity, and gravity is not created by movement, it is created by stillness with weight. That same law applies to you. Real attraction, the kind that stays, that feels right, that draws people in without you trying, is not the result of what you do, it is the consequence of who you have become. A man with inner mass does not chase, he does not orbit others, he does not reach outward to find his worth in a response. His breath stays slow, his direction stays steady, and his energy does not lean. You don't need a perfect personality to become magnetic, you need weight, and weight is not heaviness, it is density of presence, it is depth of self, it is how little you move when someone else's attention wavers. That's why two people can sit in the same silence, and only one feels powerful. Why two men can say the same thing, and only one is remembered, because one was centered, and the other was orbiting. Mass is built quietly. It is not something you show, it is something you feel when nothing is working, and you stay calm anyway. When you feel the urge to react and you don't, when you want to chase, but you return to your breath instead. Look again at the world around you. A tree stands in the field, birds land, birds fly away. It doesn't move, and yet it is never without life around it. That is what it means to be grounded in gravity. You don't chase what belongs. You hold your form, and what resonates will arrive. So ask yourself, where is your center living right now? If your mood still rises and falls with someone else's attention, if your confidence disappears when they stop replying, if your mind begins chasing the moment someone pulls away, then your center is not with you. Your gravity has been given away, and the law of nature will always respond the same. What floats, drifts. What anchors, draws. And that is the quiet shift. You were never meant to become more likable. You were meant to become more still. Let the world bend around your weight, not because you are forcing it to, but because you have stopped chasing and started returning. Do you know why silence makes some men powerful and others invisible? Two men walk into a room. Neither says much. Both carry a calm expression. Both are quiet. But somehow, one is magnetic. The other is forgettable. It's not posture. It's not looks. It's not even confidence. It's the energy inside the silence. Because silence by itself is not power. Silence is just an empty container. And the quality of that silence is what others feel. One man is quiet, but his silence is heavy with tension. Inside, he's waiting, calculating, hoping. He's not speaking because he's calm. He's not speaking because he's afraid that speaking might break the illusion. Even in his stillness, he's reaching. The other man is also quiet, but his silence is grounded. He's not waiting to be noticed. He's not hoping for approval. He's simply here, steady in his own space. And that calm expands. You've felt this before. Sometimes, someone walks into a room, and without a word, the entire energy shifts. People turn. They don't know why. They just feel something. That's not magic. That's nervous system regulation. It's what happens when someone is no longer broadcasting need, when their center is not looking for confirmation, when their energy no longer leaks through subtle signals. Because people, especially women, don't respond to the words you say. They respond to what's behind the words, the breath you carry, the rhythm of your presence, the hidden request in your eyes. You may think you're playing it cool, but your energy never lies. Even in texting it shows. One man delays his reply as a strategy. Another simply replies when he feels like it. Same behavior, completely different energy. That's why some men can stay quiet and feel invisible, while others say almost nothing and still remain unforgettable. It's not about speaking less. It's about whether your silence is waiting to be filled or whether it is already full. People can feel when your silence is a mask. They can feel when your stillness is hiding need. But they can also feel when you no longer need to be noticed, when your silence doesn't demand anything, when your presence simply is. That's what creates pull. That's what creates ease. Not performance, not tactics, but a regulated presence that doesn't flinch when nothing is happening. So the question is simple. When you go quiet, do people feel drawn in, or do they feel pressure? Do they sense safety, or do they feel tension they cannot name? Because silence always reveals what's underneath. You can't fake it, but you can return to it. You can build it. You can anchor into a version of yourself that doesn't chase approval in hidden ways. The goal is not to master silence as a skill. It is to live from a state that no longer needs noise. And when you do, something strange happens. People feel you, even before you speak. And often, you won't need to speak at all. Let's understand the difference between wanting and being grounded. A man walks into a room. He's dressed well. He's trying to stay calm. He tells himself he's confident. He says the right things. He even pauses before texting back. But underneath it all, he's wanting. Wanting to be seen, wanting to be chosen, wanting to be enough. Now another man walks into the same room. He's not thinking about being noticed. He's not adjusting himself to seem attractive. He's not measuring anyone's response. He is simply here, fully. That's the difference between wanting and being grounded. You don't see it on the surface, but everyone around you feels it. Because wanting leans. It's a forward energy. Even when hidden behind silence or politeness, it presses outward. It tries to create a result. Groundedness, on the other hand, anchors. It's not passive. It's rooted. It doesn't push or pull. It stays. Most men don't realize how much of their energy is spent in subtle forms of reaching. They speak to get something. They stay silent to get something. They plan. They hesitate. They delay. Not out of presence, but out of fear of being rejected. That's not confidence. That's camouflaged wanting. You don't fix this by pretending to want less. You fix this by returning to your center. Ask yourself, are you grounded in a direction that matters to you? Do you wake up with clarity, or do you wait for someone to give you meaning? Because groundedness isn't a pose, it's a system of internal alignment. It's when your thoughts, your breath, your actions, and your purpose are flowing in the same direction. It's when you no longer check every few steps to see if someone's watching. Wanting is what happens when your identity is still based on outcome. Groundedness is what happens when your identity is built on practice, the daily rhythm of building inner structure, regardless of who's looking. A man who wants is constantly negotiating with reality. A man who is grounded listens to it, and people can feel the difference. One creates pressure, the other creates peace. You don't have to eliminate desire to be grounded. You simply have to stop outsourcing your peace to someone else's reaction. Start with small things: the breath, the posture, the way you walk into a room without scanning, the way you continue your rhythm even when no one responds. It's not about giving up connection. It's about being so internally connected that you no longer depend on being seen. Because in that space, others will see you. Not because you reached for them, but because they felt something steady when everything else around them was shaking. So now let's understand why women feel it before you speak. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt the tension in the air, even before anyone said a word? Maybe two people were smiling, but something underneath was off. The body knew, even if the mind didn't. That's how humans work. We feel frequency before we understand behavior, and nowhere is this more true than in attraction. Most men think women are responding to looks, words, charm, but that's not how it works. Not really. A woman can sense your state before you even open your mouth, because what you think you're hiding, she already feels. Your nervous system is always broadcasting, and she's always receiving. You may say the right things, but if your chest is tight, if your breath is shallow, if your eyes are searching, she feels that. Not as logic, as vibration. It's the same reason why someone can say, "I'm fine," but their tone betrays them, their presence betrays them. Because emotion is not a secret, it leaks, and women, especially, are trained by life to notice. From childhood, they had to feel the room. Is it safe here? Is this person stable? Is he hiding something behind his smile? This is not magic, it's biology. And so, when a man walks in, even if he looks good, if his energy is scattered, if his presence is needy, if his silence is hollow, she feels it before he ever speaks. Now flip it. Think of a man who isn't performing. He doesn't try to impress. He's calm, but not withdrawn, present, but not demanding, breathing slowly, not leaning forward, just there. Before he speaks, something lands. The room softens. The people near him adjust without knowing why. That's presence. That's regulation. That's the nervous system saying, "I don't need anything. I am simply here." And women feel that too. This is why words matter less than state. It's why one man can say very little and be unforgettable, while another says everything right and still feels invisible. Because the body always tells the truth, and energy cannot be edited. You don't fix this by changing words. You fix this by training the system beneath the words. Slow the breath, stabilize the rhythm, let go of the inner tug to be chosen. Sit in your own energy long enough that you no longer flinch in silence. Because when your presence no longer hides a request, it starts to radiate something deeper, safety. And safety is the most attractive force in the world. Not flash, not style, not tricks, but stillness. And once she feels that, you won't need to convince her of anything. So do you know, masculine mass is built, not shown. Let's understand how. There's a moment every man reaches when he gets tired of pretending to be confident. Tired of puffing his chest. Tired of saying the right thing with the wrong energy. tired of trying to look strong while feeling hollow inside. And in that moment, something sacred can happen. He stops performing and begins building. See, masculine energy doesn't come from noise. It comes from structure, from rhythm, from inner mass. You can't fake that. Trying to act grounded when your inner world is unstable is like decorating a building with a cracked foundation. No matter how good it looks on the outside, sooner or later, it collapses. Real presence is not a costume. It is a system, and it's built slowly through daily choices no one sees. Waking up and moving with purpose, even when there's no audience. Keeping your word to yourself, especially when no one else would know. Staying with uncomfortable emotions instead of escaping them. Doing what aligns with your vision, not what wins temporary validation. These are not motivational slogans. They are forms of inner architecture. Each one adds weight to your core. Each one reinforces your nervous system. Each one builds gravity. And that gravity, that quiet internal density, is what others feel when you walk into a room. Not your words, not your posture, not your outfit, but the signal underneath. Is this man built from within or borrowed from outside? And the truth is, you don't need to prove your mass when it's real. You don't need to perform it. You just carry it, and the world adjusts around you. But when it's missing, you try to substitute with style, cleverness, or charm, none of which will hold when pressure hits, because performance collapses in silence, but structure holds. So the next time you feel the urge to appear confident, pause. Ask yourself, what am I trying to decorate instead of reinforce? And then turn inward, toward the invisible disciplines that build real weight. It doesn't look flashy, it doesn't get applause, but it does something better. It turns you into a man who no longer needs to chase, because the strongest presence is not loud, it's steady, and in that steadiness, others feel safe, not impressed, not entertained, safe. And once you become that, you'll never have to pretend again. Stop trying to be attractive, start becoming still. The more you try to be attractive, the more you send the signal that you are not. This is one of those truths that doesn't feel fair, because you're trying, you're learning, you're doing the right things. But the very effort whispers something quietly, I am not enough yet. And even if the mouth says all the right words, the body always tells the real story. Attraction is not a reward, it is a response to stillness. Think of a clear lake. When the water is disturbed, mud rises, ripples stretch, and everything becomes blurry. But when the lake is still, you can see the sky in it. You can see yourself in it. That's how a grounded man feels to others. Still, clear, undisturbed, and somehow magnetic. Not because he's doing something to attract, but because he's doing nothing to repel. Most men are taught to impress, to reach, to showcase, but that creates noise, and noise is stressful. Stillness, on the other hand, feels safe, because stillness doesn't chase, it doesn't plead, it doesn't distort, it just is. And in that presence, others can relax. There's a reason why monks, mountain men, or quiet elders feel powerful. They're not broadcasting charisma, they're not trying to win, they've simply settled. And in that settled energy, people are drawn in. Because when you no longer need attention, you become very hard to ignore. Now this doesn't mean being passive, it means being stable. Stillness is not laziness, it is alert peace. It is the pause between actions, the breath between words, the space where truth can land. And just like a storm eventually tires itself out, and the lake returns to clarity, so too can you. By not reacting, by not rushing, by not proving, just sitting with what is, without trying to escape it. Stillness doesn't shout, it invites. And if you can become still, not just outside, but deep inside, you won't have to chase attraction. You'll radiate something that others instinctively want to move toward. Not because you called them, but because you became the place where movement ends, like gravity. So now let's understand, when you stop chasing, life starts responding. But how? There is a moment when the noise inside you finally settles. Not because you've given up, but because you've stopped needing things to happen on your timeline. You're no longer checking your phone, no longer rehearsing the perfect message, no longer watching yourself from outside, wondering if you're doing it right. And in that strange, still space, something shifts. You begin to feel life is not something you chase, it's something you align with. You start noticing the world moving toward you, not because it changed, but because you did. The same people, the same streets, the same days, but they respond differently to a man who is no longer leaning outward, because stillness is not absence, it is presence, refined. People begin to feel it. They speak to you with more respect. They pause longer in conversation. They lean in. They remember your words, not because they were clever, but because they were anchored. And suddenly, you see it. Chasing never worked, not because you were broken, but because it was never your path. You were not designed to scatter. You were made to center, to become the axis around which things move. Not the leaf in the wind, but the tree rooted in still ground. And from that center, you no longer beg the world to love you. You become love. You become silence that calms, structure that holds, presence that attracts. This is not fantasy. It's not mysticism. It is the mechanics of energy. Life doesn't need you to prove anything. It just needs you to stabilize so it can respond. Because life, like people, can sense the difference between a man who is full and a man who is searching. And when you become full, things arrive, not all at once, not always what you expected, but they come, quietly, naturally, and without effort. And that's when you know you never had to chase. You only had to remember where your gravity lives, inside.